Hey guys, David here, back with another tutorial, and today I'm going to show you guys how I edit my photo using Lightroom and VSCO. I'll also include timestamps down below if you want to skip the Lightroom editing process and jump right into VSCO, because I know not many people have Lightroom and VSCO is very easy and user-friendly. Anyways, let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the profile to Classic Chrome, because it's my favorite one to use. Next, I'm going to increase the exposure, increase the contrast. I'm also going to reduce the highlights because this area over here is very blown out. And we'll increase the shadows to brighten up the subject and the buildings. And I'll just increase the white to make the subject stand out a bit more. 30 looks good. And I'm afraid that the buildings are a bit washed out from the increase in the shadow, so I'll just decrease the blacks to bring back those details. Now we're gonna move on to the color tab and adjust the color temperature. I'm gonna make it a little bit cooler, and I'm just gonna slightly increase the vibrance to make her clothing pop out a bit more. And now we're gonna go into Effects tab and increase the clarity just by a little bit. I want to make the buildings pop out a little bit more and give it more detail. So now we're into the Detail tab, and we're just going to decrease the sharpening by a little bit. 30 is alright. And I'll just show you guys why I reduced the detail to 0. As you can see around her face, it looks a bit grainy. That's called warming artifacts, which is an issue in Fuji cameras for some reason. I don't know why, but you can fix that by decreasing this detail to 0. I'll include a before and after, and I'll explain the masking tool as well, because I don't think I explained it very well in the previous video. So if you tap and hold this icon, and then tap and hold with your other thumb, you see that the photo is entirely white, which means the sharpening effect is being applied to the entire image. But if you slide the icon to the right, let's say 50, you start to see a bit of black in your photo. So the black area is the area that's not being affected by the sharpening effect, and only the parts that are being affected by the sharpening are the white areas. If we increase it a bit more, you start to see less white. For me, I like to go around 70, which is a good standard number, I find. Now we'll just leave it like that. So now that we're done with the Detail tab, let's go back into Effects, scroll down, and click on Split Toning. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the highlights. And now we'll adjust the shadows. I kind of want a warmer color, so maybe like orange perhaps. I think that's good. So let's look at the before and after. So I find that the skies and the cloud is very bright still. So what we're going to do is use the adjustment brush by clicking on this icon and then tapping on the plus icon here. So we'll decrease the exposure and reduce the highlights to 25. And we'll decrease our brush size. So the parts that I'm painting over, which are the red areas, that's where the effects are being applied. So the exposure and the highlights will be decreased. And if I don't want an area to have that effect applied, then I just have to erase it, which are the buildings and the CN Tower. So my advice to you guys while doing this is just to take your time. There's no rush. Put on some lo-fi music and relax. I may be doing this a bit quicker than usual because I've already edited this photo in the past and it's already on my Instagram. And for tighter areas like this part here, I would recommend using a smaller brush size. That way you don't have to constantly erase and paint over it. Alright, I think we're done with the adjustment brush. I'll show you before and after. I also did some fine tweaking for the tint. Originally it was at 30, which looked a bit warm and green, so I just increased it by 10. And it looks much better now. Alright, now that we're done editing in Lightroom, we can proceed to edit in VSCO. So to export this to VSCO, you just want to click on this icon here, hit export as, check mark, and we're going to hit on import to VSCO. Alright guys, we're in the VSCO app now, and we're going to apply a filter. So my favorite filter to use is probably HB2, Hype Beast, because I'm a hype beast. Just kidding. 7.5 seems alright. Looks a bit dark, so we'll increase the exposure a bit more. 5. And we're just going to adjust the highlights because the background is still a bit blown out, especially because I increased the exposure earlier. And I notice now the photo's a bit washed out because I increased the shadows, so we're just going to increase the contrast to bring back those details. And the last thing we're going to do is adjust the white balance, so I'm just going to make this a little bit warmer and also increase the tint to give it a bit more purple. Alright, I think we're done editing in VSCO, so I'll show you before and after. And as you can see, just by applying a filter on VSCO and doing some minor adjustments, your photo looks 10 times better now. To be honest, you probably don't even need to use Lightroom. But if you're trying to be a perfectionist, then yeah, use both because Lightroom gives you much more control, while VSCO is just very easy and simple to use for everyone. Alright guys, we're going to end this video right now. Hopefully you found this tutorial useful. Let me know what you think about the editing process. And do you guys use Lightroom or VSCO or both? Or is there another app that you use? If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Also, huge shout out to my friend Jasmine. She is the model in the photo that was taken here. And I'm going to include our Instagram page so you can give us a follow and like our photos. And I'll see you guys next time.